Appreciate it. All right. Well, good morning. We have another round of personnel heading to the southern border today. We've got 76 Florida Highway Patrol, and we got 50 National Guardsmen. National Guardsmen will be leaving tonight from Plant City. The Highway Patrol is going to be leaving out of here momentarily. So this is part of a years-long effort for us to help do what the federal government has refused to do, which is to actually defend this country's borders. You've seen numbers that have been astronomical over these last 3 years. I know that what's been happening in Texas has been effective. You've seen the numbers go down, and that's really because you have Texas putting forth huge effort and then all these other states coming by to help. So we want to be a part of that. We think this is an American issue, partially just because we should have a secure country, and then partially the effects of this border invasion go to all 50 states. So we're thankful for our folks. The morale is great. People believe in the mission. The National Guardsmen, by and large, is more of they're volunteering. Highway Patrol folks have had really good experience here. I think it's helped with the folks already on the ground there, the Texas DPS and others. So this is a team effort. If you look, though, some of the things that are happening, you got massive numbers now of Chinese coming across the border. This is incredible that we'd be allowing people from all over the world who we have no idea who they are, that they're just being able to pour in to this country. So we've said as states, we can't let this happen. I think we were the first state to really offer big support 3 years ago in 2021, because we saw the direction that this was going to take. So we're going to continue to be in this fight until the problem is solved. And we need to have the problem solved. Americans' security depends on it. American lives depend on it. So I'm thankful for the folks here in Florida. I mean, you have some of these guys that have been on multiple deployments down to the border already, just over the last couple of years. And then, so they're going more. And I think right now you probably have more folks there from a variety of states than we've had throughout this whole time. So thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate it very much. And the state of Florida will continue to step up where the federal government fails. Any questions?
Governor DeSantis, you talked about the Chinese nationals as increased awareness. Matter of fact, there's an article this morning in the Post that the San Diego crossing, there were more Chinese nationals than Mexican nationals. Does that concept present any specific concerns in your mind? And additionally, a lot of the reporting about the Darien Gap, a lot of people have gone down there, they say the military age male. Is that sort of an alt media conspiracy theory, or are those valid concerns?
No, of course they're valid. Look, you understand why people have come from Mexico, because they could probably get more jobs here. Now in Florida, we did E-Verify, so you have to be legal to work here. But in some states, you don't have to be. They don't enforce. So why would you come from all across the world through the southern border of this country? I think the chances are that there's some bad intentions there for some of these people. And it's a huge, huge problem, especially when you look at all the problem countries in this world have had people come through the southern border. You have people coming from Iran, from North Africa, other places in the Middle East, of course, China. This is not good. And yes, one of the jarring things, and I think some of our folks who've been down there, sometimes you get these big swarms of people and they're military age males. Okay, a military age male coming over from like the Middle East, is that really something that we want to be green lighting in this country? I don't think so. So I do think it's been a disaster, but I think that with those types of folks from those types of problematic countries, I don't think that we've actually even seen the full extent of the damage. I do think there's going to be a terrorist attack in this country that people are going to be able to link to the southern border. Unfortunately, I wish I didn't believe that. I don't see how you could have this many people come in from problematic areas and not have something bad happen.
Governor, welcome back to school.
Yeah.
We missed you. Are you going to sign the social media bill?
I haven't had a chance to review. So the House passed. They have made changes. I haven't looked at the changes yet. So we'll be processing that today and probably through the weekend and let you guys know very, very quickly.
What's your message to parents in Florida about social media use?
Well, I think that's one of the issues that we've wrestled with was this. On the one hand, federal law says 13 and under can't have social media accounts. That's not really enforced. So if it's the law, it should be enforced. Then when you add 14 and 15, you can definitely show how these platforms can have a negative effect. And I've always said I think social media is a net negative for kids. At the same time, we're somebody that's believed in involving parents as much as possible. And so while I think that there are harms associated with that, I do think parents could supervise in ways where it's used in ways that could be beneficial. So those are things I think you gotta strike that proper balance when you're looking at these things between policy that is helping parents get to where they want to go versus policy that may be just outright overruling parents. And so we'll be wrestling with that.
I do have an on-topic and an off-topic for you. The on-topic question is, are we still going to see a deployment of the Florida State Guard to the southern border? Is that still happening? And then the off-topic legislative question is, one of those talker bills, the left lane bill, is going to be headed to your desk that would basically prevent people from cruising in the furthest left lane in highways, I think that were 65 miles per hour or higher. Would you sign that policy?
So I knew that bill was percolating. I saw that they did pass it. I'm actually going to speak to our highway patrol folks. I'll talk to Dave. I'll talk to the colonel to just try to figure out what would that mean practically. I do think that if you see somebody on the interstate that's going 60 miles an hour in the left lane, obviously, that can present a safety hazard too. On the other hand, to force everybody over and not do that, even if you're going the speed limit, and then we're going to be pulling people over for that? How would that work?
They don't pull
so
anybody over
I'm
on
going to
95
actually
anyway.
talk to people that do this for a living, see whether they think it would be a benefit, both in terms of safety, but also, we want convenience too. We want people to be able to get where they can go as quickly and as safely as possible. But then also enforcement. Are these guys going to is that going to radically change how they do their job in terms of enforcement? Anyone else? All right. Well, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is way off topic, and forgive me if somebody else has asked you. If you had it to do all over again for the presidential run, would you do it all over again?
Oh, yeah, of course. This country needs big change. You need someone that's going to go in there and get all this done. I was somebody that had the ability to do that, and I think we had to offer that to the folks. We had some people agreed with that in Iowa, but not enough agreed with it. And so, but the good thing is
watch Fox News.
You have a right to throw your hat in the ring. You also have an ability for me to sit here and say, 2023 was the most productive year that we've ever had in the history of the state of Florida in terms of if you look at the accomplishments that were done there. It really was a monumental year, and we're excited to have helped lead those efforts. We had a lot of help from a lot of folks in the legislature and throughout the state, but there's a reason why people are continuing to look for Florida for leadership. There's a reason why people are continuing to want to move to the state of Florida, because we're doing it right. And I think you'll see when this legislative session settles, I think you're going to see a lot of other examples of really big wins that we're able to put points on the board where we're doing things. Just think about what we're going to do. We're going to sign the bill to release these Epstein grand jury materials down in Palm Beach.
Oh,
You have this notorious offender all catering to all these rich people, and yet nobody has been ever held accountable for any of this. How does that happen? How did the case go from taken out of state court and taken to federal, where he got a slap on the wrist? What has happened since then? I just think it's like, come on. In the federal government, Biden should release the Epstein files associated with the federal government, which is probably much more extensive. But for the legislature to do something which they have the right to do, to say the grand jury, which is normally secret, all those materials that the state of Florida, or I guess it would be that judicial circuit down there in Palm Beach has, that we want transparency on this. And so we're going to sign that legislation. That's going to be able to do some stuff for the, I think, for the betterment of the public. But man, how could you have had this going on for so long? And here we are now, 15, 20 years later, and literally nobody else has been held accountable. You just have him and you have the lady, and that's it. Man, I think people look at that and they're like, give me a break. And clearly you have wealth and power involved, they have a way to potentially get out. So I think it's going to be good for everybody that that's out there. And we're going to make sure that we sign the bill and the public is able to see, because I do think it's really, really
Well, that
important.
might not be good for Trump. Oh no, Trump's buddy Jeffrey Epstein. There you go, QAnon. The Epstein files.
Could American tax dollars fund some of these NGOs that are in turn setting up settlement camps for people?
They are dead. No, your tax dollars, the federal government is funding that 100%. They are, and it's wrong. Our grand jury that we did for the immigration, which we did in Northwest Florida, one of their reports talked about the role that these NGOs do. These NGOs make a fortune because of illegal immigration. They bring people in. The federal government gives them money. What we did in Florida is we took action regarding their ability to interact with the state. The problem is they have this money coming from the feds. But I think you look at it, it's not just like, oh, someone shows up and these are they're offering charity. They are intricately involved in orchestrating movements of people from foreign countries into this country illegally. That's what those NGOs are doing. And I think they should be held accountable for that. I definitely don't think the federal government should take your tax dollars and fund that, because they're basically subsidizing the border invasion, because folks know they're coming and they're going to be able to have this landing spot with these groups. So our grand jury looked at it. There may be more that comes of that. There may be things we do in the future legislatively to be able to hold them accountable, but they have exercised absolutely a negative influence on this. They have facilitated more illegal immigration. They have not worked to combat illegal immigration at all. And there's a variety of these NGOs, and this has become like a major cottage industry where there's a lot of money at stake for this. And what you want, I mean, the bare minimum, what you want to do is you have laws. You don't want to incentivize people to break laws. You want to disincentivize people to break laws. And so right now in this country, you're better off showing up illegally at the border than trying to even come legally, because of they'll literally give you a court date 3 years from now and say, oh, go enjoy your stay, across the fruited plain in the United States of America. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, you wonder why people are coming from all across the world to go to that southern border, because they know they're going to be able to stay. Meanwhile, if you try to do it right, obviously that's much more difficult. So just right then and there, but then there's benefits that come by coming illegally, and you should not have any benefits for illegal entry into this country or people that are here illegally. And I look at it, I think, if you're as an American, you go to fly on a commercial flight and you leave your ID at home, they wouldn't let you get on the plane. Yet these people come illegally and they're flying on the planes in this country with no identification. They get like a sheet of paper and then they're off to the races. They're treating people coming illegally better than they're treating Americans. The housing, if you stop paying your rent, you'll get evicted from your place, right? You show up in New York City and you're in these hotels, and they'll pay for the hotels at taxpayer expense. So I just think it shows that our priorities in this country are so warped right now that we would be doing this. And these NGOs are a problem. The government, Biden's administration has been a big problem. They're having this, it took them a year in Congress to impeach the Secretary of DHS. I don't know why it took him a year to do it. He had been violating the law for 2 years. And then you wait another year before you do it. But nevertheless, they did it. But I think the Senate needs to have a trial on this. And let's put all this information out there and make these senators vote on, is it appropriate to use that position to facilitate what's been going on, because that's exactly what they've done. And it needs to stop. And it's if you look for, like, we're supposed to be a great country and you can't even maintain control of your own territory and your own border. It's really been a humiliating experience for the United States to see what's happened over these many years. So we're part of the solution here in Florida. We're happy to have stepped up years ago. We're happy to continue to still be in this fight. I think you've seen at Eagle Pass, for example, there's been a lot of great progress. If you look at the thousands a day are now down, I think, to a couple hundred a day, which is a dramatic decrease. We want to see that go to zero. Hopefully they don't then just see it go to Arizona and California, and that the whole border, that we'll see a decline here, because the people want to see action on this. And the thing is yes, there's problems with the border, but so many now American communities have seen the impact of just the sheer number of people showing up to hospitals, showing up to schools, doing all this stuff. It's just not a way that you can live, and it's not a way that you're able to do this and be a functioning society. And you notice now in New York City, in New York, they used to virtue signal about being a sanctuary jurisdiction. Now they're saying that they have too many, and they don't want to do necessarily people going there. Well, you shouldn't have been a sanctuary jurisdiction to begin with. That was the whole problem, is that you're incentivizing and you're green lighting. And then I look around the country, California,
New York City,
you can come illegally and they will give you health insurance benefits. You're not even a citizen of the country, and they'll give you subsidized health insurance. Of course, you're going to have more people that are going to want to go illegally when that's the case. So I think we've done it right in Florida. If you look at the policies we enacted last year, we've done a number. We banned sanctuary cities a few years ago, but then last year, some of the policies to crack down on the smuggling and to make sure we have a legal workforce. I mean, those policies have been effective. If you look at the people coming across the border now, 3 years ago, Florida was one of the places that they said they wanted to go. Now you don't see as many that are talking about Florida, because I think they realize that if they go to sanctuary states or sanctuary cities, that they're going to have more benefits, they're going to have more. So by us saying we're not a sanctuary state, banning sanctuary cities, having a legal workforce, no benefits, and cracking down on the people that are smuggling illegal aliens into our state, that has had a really, really positive impact. And we got to keep up the pressure there. But that is the way that you do it, and that is the way you get the job done.
All right. Book ban hoaxes. You issued a statement last week saying the legislature may need to revise the parental rights bill. Escambia County has become the epicenter of Northeastern book publishers suing the school district, who says they're just following the state law.
So first of all, what the state law says is it gives the parents the right to object to materials that are not age or developmentally appropriate. And I showed on that video things that nobody would stand in public and defend, because it's pornographic. It should not be with minors. And that is, I think, really what we are getting at. What you've had people do for, I think, political reasons is to try to act like the state somehow would mandate that you couldn't have Shakespeare or things like that. That is a hoax. That is false. So what we want to see the legislature do, and the Department of Education will probably do some of this through rulemaking, is to say, if you're somebody that's in the school system and you're taking down books that are valid because you're trying to make a political point and acting like all these books are, quote, being banned when they're not, you're depriving the students of their right to have a good education. And so that's inappropriate. And we've seen that time and time again. You've seen people take down books about like Roberto Clemente and Hank Aaron. There's nothing in Florida law that would say that would be appropriate. Now, granted, all this stuff ultimately is the determination of the school district beyond whatever the state does. But the notion that the state is having anything to do with that is absurd. We've given parents the ability to look at these things that are clearly inappropriate. We have the video. It's online. You can go look at the video. I want someone to come defend why any of that should be in school. You literally have things talking about, you talk about like old people raping like 12-year-olds. Like, that's appropriate for minors. You do have pornographic images in some of these things. You have books talking about telling minors how to do sex apps online. That should not be in the schools. And I think almost everybody agrees with that, except the people that don't agree with it. They don't want to defend on the merits. They want to act like that there's legitimate educational materials that somehow are being targeted, and there's not. So all this stuff that you hear where if they say something, always that's something that the state not only is not prescribing, but is recommending. The Roberto Clemente was on the Book of the Month list by the Florida Department of Education. The To Kill a Mockingbird is on our summer reading list for the state of Florida. So stop trying to politicize this. Stop trying to impose your agenda. we all have an interest as parents in wanting the schools to be focusing on the basics and on core academic subjects. Injecting gender ideology, injecting pornographic or adult material is not appropriate. The parents that have blown the whistle on that have used their rights appropriately. Same time, we don't want it to be where anybody can just show up and object to hundreds of books just to try to throw sand in the gears. That is not appropriate. So both from what someone inside the system may do to try to create a political issue, or somebody who is a citizen. Look, every citizen, regardless of you have kids, has an interest because you pay taxes for the schools and all that. But to just go in there and say, oh, these 200 books or whatever, there's got to be some limits to how that process works. So I think that's what we're looking for, is to just make this something that is sensible and coherent, preserve the parents' rights, of course, on making sure that the material is appropriate, but not trying to incentivize frivolous challenges, not trying to incentivize people. There was one teacher that papered over every book in the classroom and said, oh, the state doesn't want you to have books. That's a lie. Okay, we know that. So that type of behavior is not professional and it's not appropriate. All right, thanks everybody. God bless.
Oh boy, Donald Trump had better get ready. More Epstein files are dropping, and that is thanks to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who we could have had as our president, but Donald Trump won't get his fat, stupid ass out of the way. He is now planning to use the RNC and put in his own family members as head of the RNC so he can pillage and plunder their funds to pay his lawyers. He's coming up on some major things that are going to happen where the state of New York's looking to take some of his property if he doesn't pay up. But now even more bad things coming as the Epstein files related to the grand jury that Florida put in for Jeffrey Epstein in 2006. And here is a little bit more about that, about what is going on here with the Florida legislator. The Florida legislator has passed a bill that will release the state grand jury's Jeffrey Epstein investigation. The transcripts of a 2006 grand jury that investigated Jeffrey Epstein's sexual assaults of underage girls would be released to the public under a bill heading to Florida's governor after it was unanimously passed by the legislator. The bill, which passed the Senate on Wednesday after earlier passing the House, would take effect July 1st, if signed by Governor Ron DeSantis, although a South Florida Circuit judge might release the transcript sooner as part of a lawsuit filed by the Palm Beach Post. The Post sued the Palm Beach County State Attorney and the court clerk in 2019 to obtain an order to unseal the grand jury proceedings and reveal why the grand jury returned only minimal charges. A circuit judge determined in 2021 that the court didn't have authority under state law to release the records. A state appeals court disagreed last year, citing a state law that says the grand jury records can be made public if there is a, quote, furtherance of justice. But appeals court ordered the lower court to review, redact, and release the material, but that hasn't happened yet. The new bill adds that records can be released if subject of the grand jury inquiry is dead or the investigation is related to sexual activity with a minor, which both of those would apply in this situation, as Jeffrey Epstein died in federal prison while Donald Trump was president. This is something that the Epstein conspiracy theorists will not touch. And what drives me the most nuts about the QAnon type people, and these people, they have this obsession with Jeffrey Epstein, claim to be against child sex trafficking, yet in anything that's connected to Donald Trump, which Jeffrey Epstein was, they don't want to go there and they want to live in a fantasy world. Well, I say that the QAnons, those types, don't really care about child sex trafficking. If they did, they would also want to look into things like why Epstein was let off with a slap on the wrist in 2006. And I will tell you in a minute how this connects to Donald Trump. Palm Beach County Clerk Joseph Abruzzo is technically a defendant in the Post lawsuit, as his office holds the records, but he hasn't fought the appeals court ruling and has previously indicated a desire to release the records to the interest of full transparency. Barry Krishner, who was at the state attorney for Palm Beach County during Epstein's grand jury inquiry, retired in 2009. Epstein was 66 when he killed himself in the New York federal jail cell on August 2019. Donald Trump was president at the time. So conspiracy theorists, a federal prison, who was president at the time? It was your guy, Donald Trump, okay, as he waited trial on sex trafficking charges. Federal prosecutors had accused him of paying underage girls hundreds of dollars for massages at his home in Florida and New York, where he molested them. Florida's treatment of Epstein came under scrutiny in 2018 following a series of Miami Herald articles. They detailed the disagreements that surfaced beginning in 2005 among law enforcement officials after teenage girls and young women told Palm Beach investigators that Epstein had sexually assaulted them. They had agreed to give him massages while semi-nude or fully nude in exchange for money, but they said he would then molest them without their consent. Palm Beach police, meanwhile, took their evidence to federal prosecutors who threatened to bring charges until an agreement was reached in June 2008. Epstein pleaded guilty to state charges of procuring a person under 18 for prostitution and felony solicitation of prostitution. He was sentenced to 18 months in a Palm Beach County jail system, followed by 12 months of house arrest. He was required to register as a sex offender. While in Palm Beach Sheriff's custody, Epstein was allowed to stay in an isolated cell at the county's minimum security stockade, where he roamed freely and watched televisions. State investigators said in a 2021 report that isolating him was a prudent decision, saying it was made to protect Epstein from other inmates and prevent him from using his wealth to become king of the dorms. I'm sure that's what it was for. Epstein was also soon allowed into the county's work release program. During that time, he was raping girls, molesting girls, underage girls, but he's allowed in work release. During that time, he was taken to his office where he claimed to be running his financial consulting business and his foundation. By the time of his release, he was spending 6 days a week and 18 hours a day at his office. He was required to wear an ankle monitor and hire 2 deputies to oversee his whereabouts from the lobby, but they were not in his office with him. Oh, wow. You can see, exact case of a billionaire being able to get away with whatever the hell he wants. A woman who was then 17 and another woman who was an adult that said they were trafficked to Epstein's office during that time to have paid sex with him. Epstein, Matt Gaetz knows about the 17-year-old stuff. Epstein's former girlfriend, socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, is serving a 20-year prison sentence after being convicted in 2021 of luring girls to his home to be molested. Okay, and now this is where it ties to Donald Trump. Not only was Donald Trump a friend of Jeffrey Epstein, but he also, and this is something that really is bothersome in this case, was appointed the prosecutor Alexander Acosta to be his labor secretary. Now, this is the guy who gave Jeffrey Epstein the sweetheart deal down here in Palm Beach. Watch.
Said, well, we have the press right. Alex called me this morning and he wanted to see me. And I actually said, well, we have the press right out here. So perhaps you just want to say it to the press. But I just want to let you know, this was him, not me, because I'm with him. He's a tremendous talent. He's a Hispanic man. He went to Harvard, a great student. And in so many ways, I just hate what he's saying now because we're going to miss him. But please, Alex.
And as I look forward, I do not think it is right and fair for this administration's Labor Department to have Epstein as the focus rather than the incredible economy that we have today. And so I called the president this morning. I told him that I thought the right thing was to step aside Cabinet positions are temporary trusts. It would be selfish for me to stay in this position and continue talking about a case that's 12 years old rather than about the amazing economy we have right now
There they are, BFFs. Trump, Melania, Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. And then, of course, the famous lip biting tape where Trump and Epstein are partying together. The famous lip biting tape. Where is this? There it is. Oh, yeah.
People in Palm Beach knew him. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
But in a 2002 magazine article, Trump called Epstein a terrific guy, adding, "It is even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." On Thursday, a federal judge will decide if Epstein gets out on bail. Prosecutors have argued he is both a risk to the public and a flight risk, citing his more than $500 million wealth, piles of cash, loose diamonds, and an expired foreign passport under a different name, but with Epstein's photo, his residence listed as Saudi Arabia. The defense team said the passport was acquired from Austria in the 80s for personal protection when Epstein traveled in the Middle East, stating their client was concerned about kidnappers, hijackers, or terrorists. Tonight, decades later, Epstein's fate is in the hands of a federal judge. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, New York.
Tonight, U.S. Middle East envoy Brett McGurk is in his